We're live.
We're live.
Okay.
I'm struggling.
We both
This
are.
morning.
Yeah, we always have technical difficulties, and is what it is. But we're live. Welcome to, I think, our fourth Buenos Dias
Buenos
episode.
Dias.
Buenos Dias. Today, we're going to chat about some of the main lifestyle differences that we've seen between Mexico City, at least, and the U.S., but specifically our experience, I think, in L.A.
Yeah.
So,
and even comparable to Chicago, but the places we've lived in the U.S.
Yeah, and I think that there are some things that I've written on here that I think the U.S. does okay.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're just more talking about our overall experience being here mainly, and how blatantly obvious it is how Mexico City does certain things.
I will interject just like super quickly. Halfway through, I have to go turn my cheesecake around. So just so everyone's aware, and also so you're aware.
Yeah, no worries. So, to start...
So how you been, baby?
Yeah, I was going to say, to start, how are we feeling? I think compared to last week, I feel a lot better.
Yeah. Today was a better week.
Today was a better week?
This week was a better week.
This week was a better week. I think I have tried to think less and just kind of like go with the flow a little bit. And in doing so, I've been kind of making my own videos and whatnot, and have felt a little bit more purpose. And on top of that, I've also like played some video games, like, reconnected with some people. So overall, I think there are good things included into this week. We also planned for my sister and her boyfriend are coming in 2 days.
Yeah.
For a whole week, and we have a bunch how so I think that will be a fun time as well. But yeah, in preparation for that, you've actually worked extra hard at the archive. How was your week?
It was good. I think it was like the most productive week I've had in a long time in terms of productivity for my academic work. Because it's been moving, and now it's nice to just kind of have a flow. The week we just got off a call with your dad. So like I'm feeling repetitive, but the first day is always really tricky. But like that was, I think, last week. It wasn't this week. And now this week they were like, oh yeah, welcome. Like I see you all the time. So it went much smoother and I got a lot of work done. And I'm excited to see your sister and do some touristy things for a change.
Yeah, I mean, we've done some trip. Yeah. I think, before I get into what I was going to say, I think you having a different experience this week compared to last week is also kind of how I think most people feel when they have a new job.
Yeah.
Like when you go in and you got to do like orientation, you got to get to know a bunch of people.
That's
you kind of had to do that. And now that you've gotten that over with and they know you and you're there very frequently.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, hey, how are you? Like,
that's a really good comparison. I think that's true. And like, it's just always, it's just a bit of a shift, a bit of a change. And I'm just grateful that that beginning part is it's smoother. I think no matter what, like whether you're living abroad, starting a new job, the first 2 weeks are the most nerve-wracking and always the most like tedious. And so it's a big weight off of my shoulders.
Agreed. And Yeah, just going back to obviously my sister coming and stuff, we do have a lot of pretty big touristy things
Like
planned.
so much. I think more than I've ever done in the city in a week.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's kind of like your typical, like for them though, it's kind of what I would do too. Like if you're here for a week,
Yeah.
like we have like four big things planned and, we'll explore in between that. But in terms of us being here though, for, I don't know, it's June 12th. We've been here since May 23rd. Um, for being here for a couple of weeks now, I feel like we've done a really good job maximizing each week. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think it's necessary. Maybe some people do think this is necessary, but I don't think it's necessary to do something every single day. But I've told Rebecca numerous times, every weekend we should do something.
Yeah.
And so, like, even if like this weekend we just kind of described, we kind of had a busy week. Uh, the thing we did was we went out to eat,
Yeah.
and that's not like a huge thing, but it was fun.
And
We
someone went
really
shopping.
and we went shopping, but like we really enjoyed it though. We had a really
Yeah,
good
it
day
was
yesterday.
really wonderful.
And like, we went to when you go to a place, like you're kind of exploring naturally because we had to walk, take a bus, go walk through a neighborhood, and then we walked to a different bus to take that to a different area. And you're kind of constantly, regardless where you go, you're kind of it can be a little intense.
Yeah.
But I had a good time, and I obviously got some clothes. I didn't pack that many clothes, so we had to buy George some shirts.
Yeah, you didn't bring that many clothes. I feel like there's so much we're gonna do a little differently when we go to Spain, but
Yeah, you live and you learn. Like this is a learning experience for us,
yeah,
for everybody, and watching, and for anyone who's gone through this. Like we were just talking about things that, um, like I could think of at least like five things I would not bring, and then five different things that I would switch them out for.
mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I think we will do Spain differently. But yeah, so we're in good spirits. It's a good time. We're excited for the week ahead. Maybe Jess and her boyfriend Jacob will be on the podcast next week. We'll
That would
see.
be so fun.
We'll
but-
see. We don't want to like assume. We will ask them.
Yeah,
But for today, we want to talk about some lifestyle stuff.
Mhm.
And we wrote some stuff down. To be completely candid with you, we forgot some of the stuff we were going to talk about.
we didn't. We talked about it yesterday. We didn't write it down.
Yeah, we didn't write it down.
And we were scrambling a little bit, but that's okay.
But we know of some, and we're just going to kind of talk candidly.
And if others come up, yeah, we can talk about
Yeah.
big things or just like little lifestyle things that we've noticed that are different.
So I want to talk about the number one thing for me, biggest thing. And you notice it right away, and especially I guess it's a big lifestyle change, I think, specifically for me. And I think this is very relative to a lot of people in the US, is in the US, I would, with numerous different jobs throughout my life, you kind of wake up, you do your thing, and then you have a commute. And that commute consists of me, getting in my car, and I've had commutes that are 15 minutes. I've had commutes that are over an hour.
Yeah.
And you're in the car, you're listening to music, you're listening to podcasts, whatever you want to do to, get through that commute. Maybe you're on the phone, whatever. Here in Mexico, we do not have a car. There are obviously thousands of cars, people who have cars, but for a lot of the millions of people who live here, the change is definitely a lot more walking and a lot more just like not car transportation.
Yeah.
And I've noticed it right away because, again, like I was used to a commute. We would take walks. We liked to walk casually, but like we now walk to the grocery store.
Yeah.
We walk to the metro. We walk to restaurants.
Yeah.
Like we never did. I've never done that.
Yeah.
Like
it also doesn't help that I just don't want to take Uber as much as possible. So yeah.
Yeah, but I think that's good though because again, going back to what I was saying, I have walked in like what I'm saying,
Yeah.
and typically when we're on vacation, like if we're in Europe and somewhere, like I do think it's more common there to also do this, but here, like I didn't think before we came here, I did not think we would walk to the grocery store every week.
Yeah,
And we are.
I kind of thought that would happen. Yeah.
I mean, it was, but I just didn't even think like it's kind of luck of the draw. Like you don't like, is there a grocery store a walking distance? Like, does it's gonna have everything that we need? Blah blah blah. Because the first week we came here, we did Uber. We didn't know anything,
Yeah.
so we Ubered to Walmart. There's a Walmart here,
And it's great.
and it is
We
great.
love Walmart.
It's kind of what you would imagine a regular Walmart to be, but
Yeah.
Mexico style.
Well, it's like, I mean, yeah, agreed.
Yeah, it's not exactly the same. It is
No, you're
different.
right. It kind of reminds me of like an amalgamation of Walmart and Sam's Club all in one. But either way, that really doesn't matter.
Yeah, so anyway, we Ubered there. That was still kind of a challenge because we got like a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Uh,
And we got like a trash bin. Like
yeah.
we got heavy things the first two times we went, which is the only time we've gone, in addition to groceries. So, and like not having a car, it's just something you don't often do.
Yeah, so because again, going back to what we did in the U.S., and this is relative to what we did in Illinois and California, we would drive to the grocery store.
Yeah.
And we actually did have grocery stores walking distance from our LA apartments.
100%.
We had 3 grocery
Yeah.
stores: Vons, Trader Joe's, and Ralph's. And we went to the Ralph's, but
Yeah.
we drove. And the thought being like, why would we walk when we have the car?
Exactly.
Because we would take so much stuff.
Yeah.
And so now my thought has changed on that. Like now, if we go to
You're gonna
LA,
walk to Ralph's.
like I could see us walking to Ralph's.
Our little go-kart. What is it called?
I mean,
It's a granny cart.
Yeah,
Granny
people call
cart.
it a granny cart. I was gonna call it something else, but yeah, it's like a little cart that carries all our stuff. But yeah, I don't know, I could see that changing because of the experience we've had here.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I would go that far because I love our cars, but it is like it definitely makes you rethink. Like, damn, I could get some more steps in if I just walk to the grocery store. Especially if you live in a very urban environment where you have 3 grocery stores right next to
Yeah,
you.
yeah. That's another thing I was going to say is obviously we lived in an area that we were, lucky to have that. There are many other
Yeah.
places in cities or
There are food deserts in LA.
like other, billions of places throughout the US that don't
Yeah.
have a grocery store in walking distance, and some even have trouble getting into a car. So anyway, again, that's why I put it on this list
Yeah.
because I do think that at least in cities like again, this is where I think places like New York and actual downtown Chicago could be different. I think LA is so spread out, it's not like that.
Yeah.
Like again, we're describing a lucky scenario where we were pretty close, but a lot of people are not walking distance and it's not really built for it.
Yeah.
It's built to drive.
Yeah. I mean, there's a whole other. LA is a driving city. Unless you live in the houses or the apartments right next to Ralph's,
Yeah.
like you're very fortunate. And even then, I bet you that most people, like, if you live in a little neighborhood, you would probably still drive for the convenience of like not having to haul this stuff yourself. But LA is so spread out, and the public transportation is just so behind the game. We're very grateful, like, there is public transportation on the buses, and this is like the people that do take public transportation. I took public transportation my first 2 years, and like folks have to take it. Not everyone has a car, but it is super driving accessible. It doesn't have like as smooth of a public transportation system as other cities
I think
do.
the buses are pretty good in LA.
Yeah.
It's just like that's it. They're
Yeah.
they're trying to do metro, but it's gonna take years. And even when that's done, in regards to what they have planned, it still doesn't even come close to what's in Mexico, what's in London, what's in New York.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't even come remotely close.
Because I just read an article that Mexico City's metro system is the second largest in, I believe it might be the Western Hemisphere after New York.
Yeah.
So, like, excluding Europe, because they just basically, I mean, fun fact for anyone that cares. My dad told me this fact, so it might be wrong, but the French built the metro here in Mexico City. So it's based off of the French metro, which I have experience using. You do too. It's really fantastic.
I like this one more than the French one.
So, yeah, I guess I just like I used it for 4 months and we've only used this one for like 3 weeks that I'm still getting used to it. But I would say it's definitely cleaner. Bro, Mexico City is clean,
Yeah,
bro. Like
it's very clean. Like
that's
every
yeah,
morning, if I'm out walking around, or even from our window,
yeah.
every like they're all sweeping, like just outside their business, just sweeping, sweeping,
Yeah,
sweeping. Every day, someone is sweeping.
yeah.
Every day.
It's different when it comes to pollution. Like that's not what we're talking
Yeah, I
about.
mean,
It's
you can't
very much
control. I
like
mean, you can, but like city equals pollution. You see it in LA too. Like
yeah,
LA has some pretty bad pollution and
smog
whatnot, so it's not clean
is
in that
rough.
sense.
Yeah.
But just litter and that type of stuff, it's
And
very clean.
yeah, yes. Hmm.
So anyway, walking is huge. I've
Yeah.
definitely seen, like I've said this numerous times on Instagram and in YouTube videos and stuff, that I think I will lose weight. Like Rebecca's already pretty thin,
Bro, but
pretty
like
twig.
here's the thing though, that's just like I mean, I was running on a treadmill this morning. I didn't know if you noticed, but my freaking shorts were falling
Yeah, I
down.
did notice because every 2 seconds you're like that.
I was like, what the hell?
So you think you're losing
Like,
some weights?
fortunately or unfortunately, I'm not here. I don't care about losing weight.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
it's just happening because we're moving so much.
Well, yeah, because I
And
mean, to put it in perspective,
cardio or nothing.
Rebecca would like a different lifestyle than I had in LA. Rebecca would work from home.
Yeah.
But she's worked out for like 1 billion days straight and like is very, consistent with that. So like obviously very fit.
I'm gonna do baby.
But you still do that exact same thing.
Yeah.
But now you also on top of that Monday through Thursday
Yeah.
or
Friday, whatever.
3 days a week, 4 days a week, whatever it is, you're walking to the metro and then walking to the archive and all this different stuff. So you are moving a lot more.
Yeah. And then like
whatever
that,
we do over the weekend.
exactly. Or that offshoot grocery store where I'm like, let me go to the grocery store. I need to get milk. Like, we're running out. That's like another mile. Like, it's another 15, 30 minutes of walking.
Yeah.
So it just like really, yeah, it adds up.
And I think I typically like whenever I would weigh myself, I was anywhere between like 190 and 200 pounds.
Yeah.
And I would work out, wasn't nearly as consistent as Rebecca in LA. It'd be on and off.
I mean,
But
to be fair though, you had a tighter schedule.
yeah, the schedule is different and whatnot. But now, again, this maybe is a whole other lifestyle thing that we can talk about. But I
Hashtag.
guess it's more like me though, not like Mexico. So I'm whatever. But my lifestyle change is that I don't work nearly as much, so my schedule is a lot more open. So I do work out a lot more, on top of also walking around doing whatever the hell
Yeah.
we're doing. So the walking is huge. Who knows what we'll look like by the end of this Buenos Dias podcast? I mean, if it ever ends, but like 6 months from now, after when we go to Spain, we may look like completely different people.
I know. That's crazy, but like that's a real thing. Like I know people that studied abroad for like 6 weeks and they lost weight. And just like the difference, the food is less processed, or you simply don't have amenities that allow you to be as sedentary.
Yeah.
So you have to be mobile.
The sedentary part is huge. And also, like, before we transition into a different lifestyle thing, I just want to say, like, obviously we're talking a lot about us,
Yeah.
but I've seen people do even crazier things with their walking. Like, people will go, like, we walk to the grocery store. It's like 15,
That's not
it's like 10,
anything.
15 minutes.
Yeah.
And, we have, like, these huge bags of stuff, like, whatever. But I've seen people, like, or there are people who will go to the grocery store and then they'll walk even farther to get to the metro, hold all that shit on the train,
Yeah.
and then take a bus and then go somewhere else just
Yeah.
so that they can get home because they went to a farther grocery store or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
way harder
That's the
things.
thing though, like in a very, and I'm glad you brought that up because that's also a super important thing, is a lot of people that live in these, even in France, I experienced this, but like typically it's more affordable to live outside of the city. Like it just is. So the city center where the tourists and the businesses are, where we are, like these are posh neighborhoods. And
Yeah.
so a lot of people commute in and out of the city. And this is true for LA too. Like it's so expensive. People live in Orange County, but people drive. So it's a little different, but you will see.
LA is more for work. Like,
Yeah.
you're going to work in the city and then Same with
Exactly.
Chicago. Like that,
Exactly.
like my dad used to do that like years and years ago. Would drive
Yeah,
to
but that's
Chicago.
like an urban thing. Like I think, and even here, I mean, we see it on the metro and everything, but like people will have like their goods that they're selling in their stores or like food products, and you will see individuals carrying just like sacks of produce on their back, and I'm just like, fuck, like I should never complain because who knows how far they're traveling. And so that's just been humbling, and also like just the lifestyle of what it is to live here.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think you're transitioning into a whole other lifestyle change that I think is a good thing to bring up.
Mm,
That I think like here there's a different level of people who like grind their own business.
yeah,
So like
it's very entrepreneurial.
it's like entrepreneurial, but it's also a little bit more freeing. Like I feel like Mexico or Mexico City allows for it to be a little bit more because I don't know what the rules are. I'm speaking as someone who doesn't know anything,
Yeah.
but I know for a fact that when we look out our window and we look at this huge busy street at night, there's nothing going on. But during the day, there's like a billion food carts. There's people selling Stranger Things shirts and merch. There's people selling tortillas. There's people
Yeah.
selling candy. It's like, do you need a permit to be there?
It's the tianguis culture. Do you know this word?
No.
So, I mean, Mexico City is home to the largest open air markets on, I'm pretty sure, the planet, but don't quote me. I might be wrong. And these, we haven't been to these. I am intimidated by them because they're just so enormous. But long story, very short, the Aztecs would have open air markets where they would sell goods like you would trade back in the day. And this continuation of an open air market is like I think it's also very prevalent in like South Asia, Southeast Asia, of like just having markets and street food
Mhm.
where individual vendors can simply like sell what they've grown for that day. I'm not entirely sure about the permits, but I have a very like large inkling that it does not compare to the restrictions that are in the United States.
Mhm.
You don't need to have a permit to sell clothing. And so there are a lot of pop-up stands and people have their carts, and it's like I believe to be a very advantageous thing because so many of the trendy restaurants that exist here in Mexico City started as pop-up stands that got extremely popular. Like here, what's very popular in India, they have chaat, which is like street food.
Mhm.
Here we have botanas, which are snacks, and people love, me included, fucking papas fritas, potato chips, just doused in hot
Yeah.
sauce. And like that's the culture. But you see that in other like retail or other kinds of businesses. And I think that's like amazing because people are grinding and you see them out there from 9 in the morning until probably 10 p.m. just like trying to make a sale. And it's also like I just think it's important to appreciate them and to see that game and know that like people are working their ass off.
It's just a cool like premise too, because it's like in the US, I feel like everything is very transactional. Like it's very like
Mm,
uh here I'm gonna I'm buying this. There's no flexibility
yeah.
and there's rules and there's this and that. And I'm not saying that one is good or bad, but like here you could like we bought a shirt. It's not this one, but I bought a Stranger Things shirt yesterday from there's a Stranger Things event across the street from us right now.
It's amazing.
And so a couple people unrelated to the event have started selling Stranger Things merch nearby, which makes sense. And so anyway, we went to go get a shirt. And so in the whole like interaction, there is I'm not saying we wanted to do this, but there's flexibility to be like, hey, if I buy three of these, can it be cheaper? Like I'm bargaining with you.
Yeah, bargaining is part of the culture.
Yeah, yeah. But that's what I'm saying. It's like it's more of like a trade culture
Mm,
versus like uh follow all these rules or get out. You know
yeah,
what
I
I mean?
agree. I think there's like, so I mean, I've already brought this up, but I think it's just super important. Like currency here for I think people from the Western world, it's important to bargain without selfish motives. Like it's important to understand like these people make a living off of what they sell, and don't try to undersell them because you want to like have a real life cultural experience, or like, you know, try to be part of the bargaining game, or because you selfishly want to save money. Like, I don't personally believe in that, because I would rather pay them what they believe they deserve. And so I'm like just okay paying with what,
Yeah.
you know. But I understand what you're saying. Like, to sort of jump into that a little bit more, I think there's a culture here of like transactional. There's not a dog eat dog kind of world when it comes to the business on the street. From like the 3 weeks we've been here, I've seen a lot of like, I'm gonna help you if you help me, and we're gonna grow together. Like, there's not, I mean, I don't know, this is just like from a sense of like what I've seen businesses have relationships with their vendors. Like, if you have a restaurant that's buying like eggs from a farmer, most businesses here, from what I've seen, Mexican culture encourages the growth of that farmer as well. Like, it's not perfect, but I do think like there is this like misunderstanding of like, I don't know, the business doesn't work as a companionship, but I've seen it work in a way that's actually quite surprising and I think beneficial to both parties. But
Yeah.
I don't know if that was too much of a tangent, but I want
Well, no,
to
I think that I just think that that's also relevant to some businesses, especially small businesses in the U.S. I'm more just talking about like the customer to the vendor relationship is much more of a relationship versus just like, again, all these rules that are having to follow. Like, it's just interesting to me that I feel like I don't know the rules and I have to do research on this, but if I had an idea and I wanted to sell shirts or whatever, that I could just set up shop right up front and do it, because that's the culture here. Where I'm saying in the US, that's not, you can't really do that as freely. So I just think that's an interesting, again, like change. Like, you'll walk through the street and you'll see a billion different vendors selling a billion different things. And I just think that's really cool. Like, and that the fact that they're grinding it, like they've got the, like, I don't know if anyone's seen Nacho Libre. I really love that movie. And he's got a bike with a motor. And here, those bikes, not with the motor, but the bikes itself, they just have like a huge front part. It's got two wheels, and then you can, it's like an area where you can pretty much house something. And in the movie, he houses like an engine there, but like here they have those bikes, and I see a ton of vendors drive their whole business on that bike.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They've got all their food, they've got all of the tables and whatever covers they need and whatever, and that just is really cool to me. You can just like set up and take down wherever you want. So
yeah, I think like one last note on that is like, it's interesting to see, because in LA there are food pop-up stands occasionally, and a lot of them are run by Latinx community members. And my like dad always brings up, because he is the one that sort of like told me this or whatever, but I mean, some of them don't have permits, right? But like the LA dog, I think, is a good example of that. Like a bacon wrap wiener with fried onions and bell peppers, ketchup, mayonnaise, and mustard if you want, more or less, and jalapenos. That's like an iconic staple food that's come to be part of the city. And some of the vendors, like, I think there are people on like the beach, if you're walking down Santa Monica, that are selling that. And like, I think, who knows if they have a permit, right? But I think that stems from, I'm not saying whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I think it comes from this like hustle culture here in Mexico, from Mexico City, from what we've seen, of like, I'm going to sell food and I'm going to run my business no matter what. Yeah. So like, I think that's a really interesting sort of like cultural thing that I wish more people understood about what it is to sell food here in Mexico, because you see it translated in a different way, but also in a similar fashion in the States. That I think is like, it's just a good cultural thing to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I really like that, like change here. Like, I could get used to it. You know what I mean? Like, I just think that there's so many, it just allows for so many different options and a lot of like diversity
Yeah.
of what you can buy. And do you know what I mean? It's just
Yeah.
is so like cool.
As you regroup, I'm gonna quickly flip the cheesecake.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll be back in literally 30 seconds because our oven is right there. But yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, in the meantime, so we kind of talked about walking. We've talked about just like the hustle culture and like vendors here. And so a couple other things that we were going to bring up. I mean, I guess since we're talking about vendors, we can talk about food. Because I think that that was something that we were kind of surprised about. Like we knew how massive the city was and how much awesome food that there would be here. But I think that you could live here for like a decade and still not even try like the amount of options that there are. Um, so I think food is another one that we wanted to talk about, and just in terms of the massive amounts and the diversity again that is here. Again, I think in terms of the U.S., it would the place that would probably come close would be either L.A. or New York. Probably more New York than L.A. Um, but like you can get like I mean like Rebecca's vegan and I'm mainly vegan. Uh, and there's a pretty good amount of vegan options here.
I'm back.
Like the vegan options that are here, like they match LA, if not exceed LA.
I know, which is a thought I was having yesterday, but I didn't know if it's just too soon to decide that. But it's like damn delicious.
I mean, like for us to already feel so strongly about it only 3 weeks in,
yeah, says something.
at minimum it matches.
Yeah.
Like, trust me, we've had some amazing food in LA, like, and you know, diverse options too, like really good Mexican food, really good Italian food, really good pizza.
Yeah.
But here, I mean, we've already had some really good Mexican food
Yeah.
that's vegan, obviously, and we've also had some really good. What was the other thing we had last week?
Mm-hmm. Let me think. What did we eat last week?
Oh, that was Mexican food. That was really good Mexican food.
Oh, the por siempre vegano.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had a Korean yesterday.
Yeah, I was like
Technically Korean sandwich.
rethinking that. It was like kind of a Korean / kind of like Nashville hot inspired sandwich, but it was delicious.
It was kind of like it was more like a fried chicken sandwich, like a vegan fried chicken sandwich that had Korean style. It was Korean style. I
Yeah.
wouldn't call it Korean food.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to explain it.
But it was very good.
Oh my
and,
god, it was.
And I had a freaking double freaking fried chimichanga that was amazing.
Explain to the viewers what a chimichanga is.
I mean, I don't know what a real chimichanga is because I had like they call it a fat chimichanga, the one I had, and it had like vegan. Sorry, this thing's hurt my ears. It had vegan egg made out of tofu. It had vegan cheese and a lot of it that was really melty. Which for anyone who tries to eat vegan cheese, you know that that's pretty hard to get. And then it had grilled onions, and then I think it had frijoles.
Muy bien. Mm-hmm.
Beans, like refried beans, and then that might have been it.
Yeah.
And it was, but the burrito itself, like after they assemble it, they deep fry that whole burrito. So it was amazing. And then some really good hash browns and coffee and stuff. So anyway, really good experiences so far with that, with the other places we've gone to, and we have many more coming up this week.
Yeah.
That again, at minimum matches LA. And if you're not vegan, it's even better for you because you have like a billion more options. Like there again, the food vendors on the street, you can get some like really cheap, really good tacos. Probably the best tacos you've maybe ever had for like less than like $5. Like numerous tacos, you know, or a burrito or a quesadilla or a billion things, and like. It's just been so good.
Yeah, I know. It's been really good.
So, like, I just think that the food here, and again, it would match probably the experience you get in some of the really big cities in the US. Like you'd have to, again, this is a huge city in Mexico, right? So like we're relating city to city, but I would bet money that when inevitably, because we're going to try to go to another state in Mexico that's a lot smaller, like not nearly, it's not millions of people, it's like
Yeah, it's rural.
it's very rural. I would bet money there's going to be some really good food there as well.
Yeah.
Like, so stay tuned for that. But I definitely think that the food is just so, like you brought up how it's less like in terms of groceries and stuff. I do think that's less processed. But I don't think the food is that much healthier here. Like when you're going to restaurants and stuff, and like everything I just described is very unhealthy.
Yeah, it's
The
very
chimichanga
yeah.
and stuff.
It's like deep fried and like everything is basically fried or like
And again, we're going to specific places. There are high-end restaurants.
yeah, that are very healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it depends, but
But like street food in general, like it's not going to be a salad. You know
yeah,
what
it's
I
not gonna
mean?
be
It's
healthy.
it's not. It's like you're there to eat a taco and like, it's basically meat.
Yeah.
So saturated fat.
So I definitely think the food. So again, we've talked about walking is huge.
Yeah.
We've talked about kind of like the hustle culture. I think that is a big thing that we've noticed. And then the food is just like, I don't know. It's kind of like not. It's like unbelievable a little bit.
I
Like,
know. I think like people underestimate sometimes like just how complicated and like delicious Mexican cuisine is. And for me, it's been really fun and also like pretty inspiring to see how the new like younger generations that are really like accepting the sort of vegan movement and the environmental movement just like translate that so beautifully into like vegan cuisine, which is just like swapping out certain things, right? Like instead of using chicken, you use tofu. Instead of meat, you use seitan. And like the thing that is so lovely, in my opinion, is that the flavor still packs a goddamn punch. And it's so like satisfying to eat that in a way that is like not missed because vegan food in the States as well like carries through if you go to a really good place, but there is just something so satisfying about eating like an authentic Mexican taco in a tiny taco tortilla that has two of them with like a deliciously seasoned cut of meat topped with cilantro and
yeah, the
onion.
seasoning is like everything.
Like it's so, I mean, it's nostalgic for me, and I think it's just so incredibly delicious. And it's been done so well by like the vegan community, and I just think that I think it's amazing. Like I
Yeah.
love it. And so being here, I'm like super grateful to be able to eat this kind of food, and I'm gonna like be super inspired by it because I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, damn, like this is just how do I do this at home? Phenomenal food, super good. And like again, like George mentioned, the food scene here for non-vegans is even like more expansive. The options are endless.
Even like I'm surprised at how many bakeries there are. Like
Yeah.
there's massive amount of bakery. Like this isn't really a vegan thing. Like it is a little bit if some of these things use milk or eggs.
Yeah.
But uh, like within our by our apartment, I'd say that there's at least like five bakeries within less than a 5-minute walk.
Yeah.
Like there are numerous bakeries.
Yeah.
And I wasn't really expecting that. You kind of expect taco stands and people selling tortillas and stuff like that, right? If you're just being stereotypical. And they do have that. But the amount of like regular bakeries
Yeah.
that are here, like you can buy a whole loaf of bread or
Conchas.
conchas, which is like a Mexican dessert bread,
Sweet bread.
sweet bread, um, and a wide variety, right, of a billion other type baked goods. I was kind of surprised about that. Like again, this is just adds to the diversity of what we're talking about
I
because
know.
there's a lot more bakeries than you'd think.
I think also just like a Mexican culture thing, unless you're grown up on Pilsen in Chicago, like this is where you see Mexican food culture shine. Like if you live in Chicago and presumably other places, Texas, other places, like a
Well, yeah, and in LA,
panaderia.
there's a lot of really good
Yes,
Mexican
East
food.
LA, like forget it. Like you're gonna have a similar, we just lived on the west side.
Yeah.
So we had a different experience. And I didn't explore too much of the east side, and that's like our fault. But the because I grew up on it, pan dulce is huge, and I feel like people don't know that like historical tradition or like just the food tradition of what pan dulce is. Like if you go to a Mexican party, or even if you go to like, there's like this really traditional game. It's called loteria. Loteria is played by everybody, but it's like normally women get together and play it. There's always a centerpiece of pan dulce.
What is that? What do you?
Pan dulce is sweetbreads. It's like a category of bread that's consumed by.
This,
No, it's
most people are not going to know.
Yeah, no, it's a very valid point. Pan dulce is sweetbread here in Mexico, and it comes in all different shapes and forms. The most famous is the Mexican concha, which is like a yeasted sweetbread with like a beautiful like a cinnamon, no, it's like a sugar paste on top that's cut into the form of a conch shell. But there are like so many different variations. Orejas is another one, and quite frankly, I don't even know that much. I'm a bit of a novice, but like this is another big part of what is Mexican culture today and has continued to like evolve over the years. And I'm glad you noticed that, because like there is just something really nice about having a bakery close to you and like
It's great.
ordering it. It has a lot of reminiscence of like French patisserie, which is like because the French were here for a while. But yeah, it's really nice to be able to walk down the street and pay like 20 pesos for like this beautiful, delicious pastry with a cup of coffee.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you want, like, talk about, this isn't obviously like a food YouTube channel, but we talk a lot about food because Rebecca's very into food. Like, her whole YouTube channel is about vegan food, and then I'm just a big foodie
Or
person.
foodies.
And so in that, we talk a lot about health and, wellness and stuff too. And so we haven't really ranted about it, but, we would typically, like, we don't like looking at, we don't typically buy a loaf of bread from the grocery store. Like we don't like at least in the US, like we don't like the long list of unknown ingredients that come into stuff like that. And so we'll do that with many products, but I'm bringing up bread on purpose because another reason why I like these bakeries is you can go there and they'll give you the 5 ingredients that are in this loaf of bread or whatever it is. Like there's no mystery item.
Yeah.
Like the peanut butter we got is nuts.
I know.
You know what I mean? It's like
I love that.
it's just like simple, and it's very clear to what you're putting in your body and what and it's still good. Again, like there are reasons why artificial stuff exists and whatnot.
And the advertisements. You saw that too, though. We could talk about that a little bit. I don't mean to cut you off, but the warnings on all the food products.
Yeah, I mean that's not really a lifestyle thing. Like that they'll put on like little warnings. The England does the same thing. Like,
Yeah, but
it's
people in the
thing.
US don't do it because our FDA is less regulated. But
Yeah.
like,
I don't think it's a lifestyle thing though. I think we can save that for another thing because it's not super necessary. It's not. It's not a lifestyle thing. It's like what do grocery stores do differently or anything
you're
like
right,
that.
you're right.
Like, but yeah. So anyway, we really like the bakeries being nearby, and I would say that's again like another big thing.
there's also mercados and other things. Like just to like summarize a little bit, but like grocery stores here in Mexico City, like you have sort of your neighborhood grocery store, your Ralph's, your Kroger equivalent. You have a lot of you have your Walmarts, you have your American-based stores. There's a Sam's Club and a Costco, which we haven't been to because we don't have memberships. So like, and they're a
I
little
also
far.
don't really think like
We don't need it.
those are very specific types of stores that like where we're not gonna benefit from.
Yeah. We don't need that. And like, I love this part of the grocery stores is like, I don't know, in LA, I didn't look too much, but it was always just like way too expensive for me to want to do it. But like here, they have a big movement of sustainability. Like it's really big in the city. And they do eco sort of like bulk food stores where you don't bring plastics. They don't sell you things in plastics. You basically bring your little jar or your little bag, and you can refill as you'd like. And yeah, and that's one store I really like. And then you have mercados and tianguis, which are like direct, they're a farmer's market, direct vendor to seller, farmer to client.
Yeah, I mean they're not. We haven't really gone to a farmer's market. There's a market. Is that what you're talking about? That's
That's a
biased.
farmer's market equivalent.
Yeah, but it's not like an LA farmer's market though. Like it's not the
Well, I
same.
know that's a whole other
like
conversation, but
like the again that would be like where since we'll talk about grocery stores like the sustainability is a big part of it. You do see in LA like that type of movement, but they still sell plastic bags. Like they're just like recycled plastic or whatever. I do think like the bulk food store you're referencing is good because they pretty much like they have all the stuff, but you have to kind of bring your own containers or buy one of their jars and then reuse it. So I do like that a lot. I'm sure there are stores that probably exist like that though in LA. But the market here is way different than a farmer's market.
I know, but that's like how you would call it. Like you wouldn't call it like I guess you could call it a market.
It's just called them. It says Juarez Mercado.
Mercado, I know, but like if we think of at the basis, this is where it becomes complicated, and this is where food becomes like it's different in a cultural sense. In the United States, I would argue that a market is a place to get organic food. And organic food is more expensive and it's more posh. But here in Mexico, organic food is not as expensive because the farmers sell to you directly. And I don't know why, but like,
But in a farmer's, like in a real, I'm not talking about a store that says farmer's market in LA. I'm talking about an actual farmer's market
I know.
that sets up. Those are farmers selling their own stuff.
I agree, but I think there's something that I don't understand entirely at this moment. But like for some reason, when an American goes to a farmer's market in LA or wherever you are in the States, it's normally more organic food and it's more expensive than the food at the grocery store. Here in Mexico, going to the market is where you find the freshest and also the most affordable produce. I don't know like what that has to do. There's something there. That's
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you that it's expensive at a farmer's market, but again, what I'm saying, and we're talking about different things, because what I'm saying is the farmer's market in LA or in near Chicago or whatever are farmers coming in, they're selling their strawberries, their fruit and veggies and whatever, and maybe some organic product that they made, right? That's what that is. The market down the street from us has fruit for sure, but then also has like restaurants. They sell like a whole bunch of like it's a bunch of vendors. That's why I'm calling it a market. It's not like it's not
that's a
just
good way to
it's
put
not
it.
farmers.
That's a
Like
good way to put it.
there's maybe like 5 farmers that are selling their produce, but then there's like 8 restaurants, more or less, business owners, and then there's like
A butcher.
yeah, like a whole bunch of stuff. Like it's
Yeah.
not the same. There is no equivalent
That's
in
true.
LA.
Fair enough. That's a really good way to put it.
Like the market that they do have in LA, I think it's called the LA market or something. It's more like proper, but it's very similar. That'd be the only thing but you know
Oh,
what I'm
the one
talking
in
about?
downtown.
They have all those
Yeah.
restaurants and stuff.
Yeah. I
So
feel what
like
you're saying.
that's kind of similar, but this is like you could tell like they set up shop every day, and it's like that's what I mean. I'm not talking about the differences between price. Like I
I just went on a
I
tangent.
get that makes sense, but I'm talking about the dramatic differences between what the markets are.
Yeah. No, that's a really good way to put it. I didn't think about it that way.
And I like this one way more than the farmers market we'd go to in LA or something.
Yeah.
Because again, it's like you do get the produce if you want it, and it's like a wide variety of different options to you, like freaking coconuts or like
Yeah.
I don't know, like
Just
crazy fruit
yeah.
or different stuff, and it's very fresh. But then you also literally can be like, all right, I want some tacos now, and
Yeah.
I want to get some candy.
Yeah. I mean, it's important to like, yeah, that's a really good distinction. I think that's really unique. I think you're right. And we
Yeah, it's
haven't
very
been to
unique.
like there's a very trendy and also like more expensive, I would even argue maybe upper scale market in Roma that's very famous. It's called Mercado Roma. And they do like, it's even like more, it's like a next level because they have cafes and
Yeah,
then they
yeah.
have vendors and then they have like actual, like, you're right. It is different. It is a different experience.
Because also like a farmer's market, like they're normally up once a week.
Yeah.
This
They're
market's
every day.
24/7, not 24/7, but this market's like every day.
Yeah.
And it's badass. Like one of these days I'll do a video or something because
Yeah.
it's like it's very cool. So I definitely think like that type of market and supermarket experience, general differences, I think it's better than in the US.
Yeah. I think that's a good point.
The US, the difference, and again, I'm only speaking in terms of Mexico City. One of the things I do like about the US, but this is more about like kind of rural places, like in Ohio or in the suburbs of Chicago, uh, or other random places in the middle of nowhere. You would have huge stores. Like that's a very big US thing
Yeah.
to have these massive, uh, what are they called?
Would it be like a department store or a grocery
I'm talking
store?
about like
Kroger kind of.
Kroger.
Yeah. Those are like, I would call them grocery
They're
store
supermarkets, but I don't know. Like,
supermarkets.
there's a different name. Anyway, like I used to work in Ohio on and off, and they have the biggest Kroger there. Kroger is pretty much the parent company that owns Ralph's and a few other places, if you didn't know. But they had the biggest Kroger in the country there in Ohio, in Cincinnati, in the suburbs of Cincinnati, and it was huge. And it's
Yeah.
like there's huge WalMarts. There's even one in LA, in like Burbank, and huge Target stores. Like again, it could be a department store, supermarket, whatever. But those huge stores, you don't really get that here.
Yeah.
Like obviously we're bringing up there's Sam's Club, there's Costco, but I see those as just like warehouse stores that sell bulk. Like it kind of makes sense to me why those exist. And like I said, we said there is a Walmart here that we went to that is pretty big. But again, we've gone to some really big grocery stores before that just aren't here. And I would say that's something I like about the U.S. But something I like about Mexico though is these markets are
Yeah.
like nothing else, you know. And we've only gone to this one. There are many others
Yeah.
we've seen in videos, we've seen in other neighborhoods that are both fancier, not as fancy, and you know, there's a wide variety of them that I think are pretty cool. Um, so yeah,
Yeah. I think that's, we'd have to maybe do a little bit more research on like finding a department store kind of equivalent, but we have yet to look at it.
yeah. The last thing in terms of because we talked about walking, we talked about the hustle culture, we talked about grocery stores, and we talked about food. Um, the last thing would be on Sundays, and this is something I haven't seen in any U.S. city.
Yeah.
Is the whole city? I don't want to say it shuts down because you can still go to like a lot of restaurants and cafes are open, but a lot of other big businesses are completely they just close on Sundays.
Yeah.
And there's even parts of the city that they'll shut down big intersections. We've seen this and we haven't been able to go yet, but we have seen they'll shut down this big intersection on Sundays every Sunday, and they'll have like like dance classes and people who you can bike around this whole thing and like bring your dogs. Like it's just a very big like community
Yeah.
day where everyone's kind of agreeing to chill that day.
Yeah.
And I'm sure like they're going to church and like
Yeah.
church is a big part, I'm sure, of what people are doing on Sundays, but a lot of it is made to hang out with your friends and family.
Yeah.
And I think that that's super cool because like and I'm telling you there is a dramatic difference. Like you can tell on our street that on Sundays it is significantly less busy. Significantly. Like if you were to just listen to the cars or walk down the street, like all the businesses are closed.
Yeah.
And I just think that that's super cool. You know, I think there are other places in the world, like in Europe, where they have different versions of this, where like
Yeah.
they'll take bigger breaks during every day and have like a huge lunch together or dinner together or whatever. But in the US, like there isn't really anything like that. It's kind of constantly grinding every
Yeah,
day.
that's like kind of, would you say, and this is, I feel like part of it, but like it's like work, 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 work in the US. And like unless your family unit tries to generate community or your small like group of friends or like your hobbies, I feel like it can be kind of tough to like feel the city around you or the environment around you decompress,
Yeah,
you
I
know?
think what it is in the US is if you have a normal schedule, and many people don't, right, with remote jobs and just
Yeah.
like at my old job, I had to work every other weekend. Like I know what, there are weird life schedules out there. But if you're lucky enough to have the normal US schedule, you're working Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, maybe a little bit longer. Maybe you've got a commute. So like maybe you're with your commute and whatever extra work you're doing, you're actually working from like 7:30 to like 5:30 or 6 or something, and then you have dinner and whatever. So anyway, that Monday through Friday you're swamped. So then I feel like everyone's rushing on Saturday and Sunday to try to
Yeah.
actually like either force family time or do chores, or you're going grocery shopping, or you're trying to go to
Or have fun.
church, whatever. That, like what you just said, unless you're actively trying on the weekends or whatever free time you have, then I do think it's work, work, work. But here, like on Sundays, even if you are work, 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 and we kind of are, like we're from the US, like
Yeah.
that's what kind of is instilled in us. Uh, Even for us on Sundays, we're kind of like, maybe we should just chill. Because we see it's like a
Yeah.
cultural thing. It's like the vibe. You're walking around, you're like,
I'm not gonna leave my apartment
yeah, maybe
today.
we'll just go get coffee. Or like, you know what I mean? It's just
Yeah.
like a lot more relaxed. And I think that that helps a lot.
Yeah.
Like, I think that, you know, it's just like, regardless of what's going on, you know that you're going to be able to at least chill a little bit if you
Yeah.
want to on Sundays. Um, and I think that's very, again, I haven't seen a city do that. This is a really big city. Like, it's bigger than LA. It's, I think, bigger than New York, maybe. I don't remember. I think it's bigger than New York. I
I
think it's
think it
bigger than New York.
is.
And it's kind of crazy to think that a city of this size, like, takes a break
Yeah.
once a week.
Hmm.
Um, it's just weird to me. Again, the metro is still running, and a lot of restaurants are still up and running, and maybe there are some business like supermarkets are still open, but it's just like a lot of the other businesses. Specifically for us, we're nearby a lot of like auto repair shops, mechanics, stuff like that. They're all closed, and you know there are less vendors on the street. They're taking a break.
Yeah.
They're gonna go, chill. Uh, I just think it's cool.
It's nice. I think so too. I mean, I feel like there's a bit of like life to that, a bit of humanity. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I feel like most people, especially like as society continues, I'm all here for the grind game. Like you and I, we're doing a podcast. Like we try to squeeze every minute out of every day. But like everyone, it doesn't matter. Like if you're constantly obsessed with your work or not, it does you well, does you good to like reconnect with people, your family, your friends, and for it to be felt by like a city scale,
Yeah.
I think is one of the like things that is super underappreciated. I wish personally I could take like a day off, like genuinely just take off and be with family and friends and stuff, but I love what we do. I love our work. That I haven't felt the need to do that yet, but
We're
like
also not by families or friends right now.
I know, 100%. Like that's so true. But like I've always appreciated like people who take the Sabbath off, which is like a Jewish holiday. Like I've always found so much beauty in that. It's also like such an ancient tradition for people to just like take an actual day off. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And it's just refreshing to see people do that. I think. And it's been cool, and I like to see that. And people seem jolly. People seem happy
Yeah.
as hell. This morning we woke up, people were partying until 7 in the
Oh
morning.
yeah. I mean,
So
like
people are living life.
like we're going to bed. We go to bed early, like 8:30,
Like, oh,
and
I love it though.
we're going to bed, and I hear like music and stuff, and I'm not worried about that. There's music more or less every day, so anyway, I like close the window, and then I wake up this morning, and it's like 5:30, and I hear music still, and I'm like, am I like dreaming or like what is happening? And then I went out and I opened our other window, and those same people
Yeah.
are still partying. Like, they partied till like 7. Like, the sun had risen.
Yeah.
You know,
Do
like,
you know what we call it here?
what?
La perrea.
What does that mean?
It's like where you get to be goofy and just party. Perrear, it's kind of like, it doesn't have the best connotation, but like, or festejar, like to just like celebrate. And to be fair, I think we're just like in a part, well, like we don't really do that often. I
Well,
feel
yeah, I
like
mean,
people do that in LA, but like
yeah.
anywhere, in any place, in any city, at any time. But it was cool to see people do that right next to us. It was like, I don't know, people are living life, people
Yeah.
are having fun. And
Like,
it just
people
feels
party
good.
and stuff, but I'm telling you, these guys partied outside, like on their rooftop till dawn. Like, it was.
Meanwhile, everyone's in their apartments, just like, fuck
Yeah.
it, whatever.
But we're not judging. Like, you do you. You know, it was
Yeah.
a Saturday going into a Sunday, and like it is said, like the whole city is shut down, so it
Yeah.
kind of makes sense. And you know, it's cool to see people, you know, have that family time and
Yeah,
you know,
friend time.
friend time. So yeah, so I mean, so far those are our 5 biggest things. We've got again just walking, then the mobility that is very different between here in the US at least, or sorry, here in LA at least. I think the only place that could get close is New York to its like level of mobility. And then the food here has been amazing, like very surprised. Like, we knew we were gonna have good food, but we didn't think it would be at this level. And then we talked about like supermarkets and the markets and how pretty different they are between here and the US. Um, and then we talked about
Sundays.
the hustle culture, and how that, again, there's a hustle culture in the U.S., but it's like, I don't know, they're different types. Like,
Yeah.
here, it's very physical, going out, setting up shop, doing whatever I want, grind every day, 6 days a week, take off Sundays,
Maybe.
go back again. Yeah. In the US, it's more like, you know, how can I work for myself? How can I be an entrepreneur and all this different stuff? So it's there, but just different. And then, yeah, the last thing was Sundays and how the whole city shuts down. I definitely think that's something that I could see other cities benefiting from. But I don't know. It's already here in Mexico, and it's pretty cool so far. So
Thanks for tuning in, guys. Yeah, for
Yep.
yet another episode.
another
of Buenos
episode,
Dias.
and we'll see if we do one next weekend. Um, be sure to subscribe if you're not already subscribed, and let us know down below if any of these were a surprise to you. And if you're interested for anything else to be discussed in the podcast, let us know. And then we'll catch you in the next one. Farewell.
Ciao. Adios.